It means so much. It's a very emotional day.
This is the father of Charlotte O'Brien, a teen who took her own life after being bullied online.
Moment before listening to this, not because what you're about to hear is shocking in a loud way, but because it's quiet. And quiet situations online are often the ones that go unnoticed. Here comes from screenshots and documented Discord messages that were shared with me by multiple people. Nothing in this video is presented as proven fact. These are allegations, shown as they appear, for awareness and transparency. I am not encouraging harassment, threats, or contact toward anyone mentioned. This video exists to show what was documented, and why it raised concern. I didn't plan to make this. There was no intention to create a long expose, no checklist, no dramatic opening moment. It started the same way most online situations do, with a message that didn't feel right. At first, it seemed small. A comment. A screenshot. Something easy to ignore. That I told myself it was probably nothing serious. People online joke badly all the time. Tone gets lost. Context disappears. It's easy to assume misunderstandings, but then more messages came in, different people. Different conversations. Different Discord servers, all pointing back to the same person. The screenshots center around someone known as Dynamic, a small YouTuber with a modest audience, who is primarily active on Discord. What stood out immediately wasn't just what was being said, but how often similar situations appeared across different spaces. Many of the messages shown involve sensitive or inappropriate topics introduced casually into private conversations. Not as education. Not as discussion. Not as concern, they were simply dropped into chat.No warning. No checking whether the other person was comfortable. No pause to consider how it might be received. Some people responded politely. Some tried to change the subject. Some stopped responding altogether, and that matters, because when someone stops replying, that is communication. That it means discomfort. That it means uncertainty. That it means a boundary. But according to what was documented, the messages didn't stop. This is where things shift from awkward to concerning. Because repetition changes meaning. Point 1 message can be a mistake. Point 2 can be coincidence. A pattern is something else entirely. As more people compared screenshots, similarities became harder to ignore. The tone. The timing. The way serious topics were treated casually, almost like reactions were being tested. That's when people started asking questions, not, is this weird? But, has this happened to you too? Eventually, these concerns reached Dynamic directly, and according to messages that were shared with me, he responded by claiming that some of the behavior was fake, done intentionally for attention. That statement is important, not because it resolves anything, but because it reframes it. If behavior is intentional, even as a joke or performance, the impact doesn't disappear. The people reading those messages didn't know it was fake. They still had to process them. They still had to sit with how it felt to receive them. Attention seeking doesn't erase discomfort. It creates it. Online attention is powerful, even with a small following. Being a creator changes the dynamic between people. There's influence, whether it's acknowledged or not. People assume a level of trust. They assume intention. When that influence is used recklessly, or for shock value, the effects ripple outward. What might feel like content to one person can feel invasive or unsettling to another. That imbalance matters. Another recurring theme in the screenshots is confusion. Confusion about intent, confusion about tone, confusion about why certain topics were introduced at all. When people don't know how to respond, they often default to silence. And silence can be misread as acceptance, when it's actually discomfort. That's how boundaries erode quietly, not through force, but through pressure. There are also screenshots that suggest misleading behavior, situations where expectations were created, then not met. Where trust was implied, then shaken. This doesn't require money to matter. Trust itself is valuable online. When people feel misled, even in small ways, it changes how safe a space feels. It makes others question whether interactions are genuine, or if they're part of something else, and once that doubt exists, it spreads. Another element shown in the screenshots involves association. Dynamic is seen interacting with creators who already carry controversial reputations. Association alone doesn't prove wrongdoing, but it does provide context. People choose their environments, and environments influence behavior. When similar patterns appear within the same circles, it raises questions about what's normalized behind the scenes. There's also the issue of copyright strike threats. Screenshots shared with me show warnings about striking videos before they were even released. For viewers who don't know, a copyright strike is not a small thing. That IT can remove a video instantly. That IT can limit a channel's features. That IT can put years of work at risk. Multiple strikes can lead to termination. Threatening a strike preemptively isn't accountability. That it's leverage. That it's a way to discourage criticism before it exists. And when criticism is met with threats instead of transparency, that's something viewers deserve to know. Another detail visible in the screenshots is the presence of multiple accounts connected to the same Discord server, now appearing offline or suspended.I. Want to be clear again, I am not claiming why those accounts were suspended. That I'm only stating what's visible. Multiple accounts, same environment. No longer active. On its own, that might mean nothing. But alongside other documented concerns, it adds context, not conclusions, context. When you step back and look at everything together, the messages, the responses, the explanations, the patterns, this stops feeling random. It starts to feel structured, not necessarily planned, but repeated, and repetition is what turns individual moments into a story. This video isn't here to tell you what to think. That it's here to show you what was documented. Screenshots don't rely on memory, they don't rely on tone. After the fact, they show what was said, and when, and that's important, because online situations are often rewritten after they happen. Documentation prevents that. If you've ever felt uncomfortable online but couldn't explain why, this is probably familiar. The feeling that something's off, but not dramatic enough to call out. The hesitation to speak up because you don't want to cause drama. The instinct to minimize your own reaction. That doesn't mean your reaction was wrong. A discomfort doesn't need permission to exist. This isn't about canceling someone. That it's about awareness. That it's about recognizing how attention, influence, and boundaries intersect online. And how quickly things can slide when reactions become the goal. Creators have responsibility, even small ones, not because they're perfect, but because people are watching. People are listening. People assume intention, and when that trust is mishandled, even unintentionally, the damage doesn't disappear just because someone says it was a joke. This video is not asking for harassment. That it's not asking for threats. That it's not asking for dogpiling. That it's asking viewers to look carefully. To slow down. To read. To notice patterns instead of isolated moments. If you're watching this and you're in a Discord server where something feels wrong, you're allowed to leave. You're allowed to block. You're allowed to document. You're allowed to protect your space. No one is entitled to your attention. And if you're a creator watching this, this is a reminder. shock doesn't equal substance, attention doesn't equal respect, and reactions gained at the expense of others always leave a trace. This video doesn't claim to be the final word. It's a record. A record of what was shared with me. A record of what was documented. A record of why people felt uncomfortable enough to speak up. What happens after this is up to the audience, because once information is visible, people decide for themselves, and that's all this was ever meant to be. A chance to see.
All my fellas, all my fellas, all my fellas, all my fellas.
I literally hack him and knock him down on the ground. He ain't above 13, he 14. Or 15, but still. So, we're almost the same age. Like I'm 12 and he 15 though. And also I use a bat. I'm not using my bare hand. Well, he was kind of big. But still, I beat him. Took me only a few seconds.